Ouvir seu podcast favorito já virou tradição, né? Tipo Chester Perdigão no Natal. Afinal, só Perdigão tem Chester.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the heartland of America, all the way from sea to shining sea. Back from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Wonderful, wonderful time in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We had, y'all, it was over 200 people showed up in Tulsa last night. They said 250 people had registered, and about that many showed up. We filled that place. It was a huge space we were at, and completely filled it. We're there for quite a while, taking people's questions. It was a wonderful time. Thank you. It was encouraging to me. You know, sometimes you wonder, are people really listening? And to go to Tulsa and to have as many people out there show up as they did, it was a real encouragement to me. So thank you all for coming, and thank you, KRMG, for doing that, and look forward to doing more of these around the country. I guess we need to do one like this in Atlanta, don't we? Considering I'm here. Now, we hadn't done one like that. We haven't done a live event in Atlanta other than our gathering in quite a while. I got to begin with a story that is not about the election, and I know everybody still wants to talk about the election. I'm happy to take your calls. It's an open line Friday. Before I give you the number, though, I just need you to listen to me. I never even covered yesterday that interest rates got cut yesterday. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was covering the meltdown of the Democrats. The retribution has begun. And interest rates got cut. I will spend more time on interest rates later in the show. I've got to cover this story. This is the most important story today. It is not the only story. But y'all, this is the most important story today. It doesn't involve us, except at the periphery. It's not about Trump. Last night in Amsterdam, Arab immigrants began hunting Jews in the street. In Amsterdam. They were hunting Jews. They were beating the Jews in the street. It was so bad that the Israelis had to launch a rescue mission into Amsterdam. The pogroms have returned. And the American media that has wanted to assail Donald Trump as the second coming of Hitler has danced around what actually happened. Here's the headline from the New York Times. Israeli soccer fans injured in Amsterdam attacks that officials call anti-Semitic. It was a pogrom. The European immigrant Arabs hunted the Israelis in the street. Now, let me read you. This is from the Telegraph in London. Globalize the Intifada, radicals cried on the streets of Europe this past year, and last night it happened. The Intifada was globalized. Jews in Europe were hunted down, humiliated, and beaten. The scenes from Amsterdam are horrendous. The echoes of past catastrophes are hard to ignore. Israeli fans of the Maccabi Tel Aviv football team, that's soccer, were chased through the streets and assaulted. Some reportedly leapt into canals or took refuge in hotels to escape the blows of their persecutors. Free Palestine, the mob thundered. Now you know how it feels, some screamed as they put the boot into the visiting Jews. They had clearly anointed themselves as Gaza's vengeance with a duty to visit violent justice on these Israeli citizens. It started, as soccer clashes often do, with offensive chanting and scuffles here and there. The Maccabi Tel Aviv fans had come from Israel to watch their team play a European League match against the Dutch side Ajax. Tensions ran high. Footage on social media seemed to show Maccabi fans gathering in Dam Square and elsewhere in the city where they chanted F Palestine and tore down some Palestine flags that are now omnipresent in European capitals. But after the game, things took a dark turn. What had been a pretty typical skirmish between fans morphed into something more like a mini pogrom. There were completely unacceptable anti-Semitic attacks on Israelis, said the Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof. The Israeli media is referring to it as a Jew hunt. The mob filmed its abuse and shared it online. They demanded to see their victims' passports to check if they were Israelis and thus deserving of a vicious kicking. There are chilling clips of Israelis seemingly knocked unconscious. Some can be heard pleading for the mob's mercy. There is nothing like Amsterdam, said the city's mayor. I'm very ashamed of the behavior. We all should be. The taunting of Israelis, this collective punishment of visiting Jews, should shame all of Europe. It's reported that some of the assailants were of Arab origin and perhaps were recent immigrants. That remains to be seen. But if it is true, then this horrific event also raises questions about Europe's immigration policies and the crisis of integration. The Dutch king, who does not frequently speak in public, released a statement. The King of the Netherlands said that we failed the Jews in World War II and we failed them last night. This is unconscionable. And it is a warning sign that something is going profoundly wrong with society. Something is going really profoundly wrong. In the streets of New York and in Boston and in Philadelphia, the same things are happening. Jews are being beaten in the streets of the United States. They're being beaten in the streets of Amsterdam. And it is remarkable to me that this is not the biggest story. Everyone is still so obsessed about the political race in Washington, D.C., while Israelis are being hunted in the streets of Amsterdam and Jews are being hunted in the streets of the United States of America. It happened this week in this country, in blue cities of blue states, Jews being hunted in the streets. And what's so shocking to me is that so many Democrats want to deflect the blame. And, last night, for example, they were saying, oh, well, the Jews tore down some flags. I'm sorry, but Israelis tearing down a Palestinian flag does not give the Palestinians and their supporters the right to hunt down every Jew and beat them. We have given a pass on these college campuses. And I want to play for you a clip. It's my friend Leland Vittert. Let me see if I can cue up this clip for you because it's important. I think you see this, you hear this. On News Nation last night, and I got to commend News Nation. I've done hits on News Nation a number of times now, and they are not Trump obsessed, and that's what I like. Every time you see a story now on CNN in particular, MSNBC, of course, and even Fox News, everything is in juxtaposition to Donald Trump. Not everything in the world is about Donald Trump. Not everything is. Some things are. Leland Vittert wanted to highlight election night. And the reaction, there were so many reactions of the meltdowns of progressives, and instead, he wanted to highlight the cheering crowds.
We spent a lot of time over this show yesterday, even on election night, about how politicians on both sides are dealing with Trump's victory. But we've not really spent much time on how you, the voters, and our viewers are reacting. You guys matter. You spoke. That was what this election was about. So we'll start in West Palm Beach, Florida, where Trump supporters broke out in hymn. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
This is Auburn. The students at Auburn are singing the national anthem. That's Auburn University in Alabama. And this is the Virginia Military Institute at 1:48 a.m.
Let's go!
As you can see, that was the Virginia Military Institute. The time, at least in the upper right-hand corner, is 1:48 a.m. If they had been watching News Nation, they would have known a half an hour earlier. Something to keep in mind in terms of how you choose your viewing and where you choose to trust. One note, that roar, most of the people at VMI signed up because they will end up going into the U.S. military. They were roaring in approval of who will be their commander-in-chief, who will decide whether or not to send them into battle. Not everyone, though, on college campuses was thrilled about a second Trump term. Several colleges and universities have canceled classes, including Barnard, Columbia, and even Harvard. Professors expressed outrage that classes were not called off at the exact same universities. And this is something to note after the October 7th attacks.
And I wanted to play that clip for that last point. On October 7th, 2023, more Jews were killed in a single day than the Holocaust. And what happened on these college campuses that shut down classes because of Donald Trump's election? They went to class and professors and students cheered. They cheered. And then they protested Israel's response in this country on college campuses. My daughter told me that one professor on her campus began berating students about Donald Trump's victory and singled out one student in class who rolled her eyes. And other professors canceled classes for mental health. Weak response. Instead of doing your jobs, you've internalized it. And when it happened to the Jews in this country, many of these same professors celebrated. There's a deep sickness, and these progressives are saying the sickness is with people who voted for Donald Trump. I would submit to all of you that the sickness is with the American academics and students who would choose to cheer the slaughter of Jews, who would choose to march in the name of Palestinians as Israeli and American citizens are being held hostage in Gaza. Never once were they calling for the release of the hostages. They were calling for Israel to have a ceasefire. They stacked the deck against the Jews, and they're hunting Jews in the streets of American cities and in Europe. This is not World War II. Jennifer Rubin, the dim-witted idiot retortist at Washington Post, my son says to call her that. She's, well, looks like a turtle and is a little bit slow. She compared Donald Trump's election to the rise of Hitler. He sure is a bad Hitler. A lot of Jews supported him. Hamas is now being kicked out of Qatar because of Donald Trump's reelection. It's a terrible, terrible impression of Hitler he's doing, if that's the case. Jennifer Rubin says the second coming of Hitler, the Jews are being hunted in the streets of Europe and in blue cities in this country by Democratic progressive partisans who hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump supporters are not hunting the Jews. Donald Trump supporters are not beating up the Jews. Donald Trump supporters are not having to abandon class after an election. These professors at Harvard and Yale and these other institutions cheered on the slaughter of Israelis and are crying because their fellow citizens disagreed with them about President of the United States. There is something deeply screwed up in this country, and you people on the left can just shut up about there's something being wrong on the right for standing with Donald Trump when you people are standing with the anti-Semites who are literally hunting Jews in the streets of America and Europe right now while you call Donald Trump Hitler. Maybe look in the mirror and shave your own little mustache.
Esse podcast é um oferecimento de Samsung Galaxy AI. E sabe o que mais ele te oferece? Que tal uma nova maneira de buscar na internet a partir de fotos ou do que está na sua tela? Fácil, fácil. Viu? Circulou? Encontrou. Ou quem sabe um assistente de notas para gravar reuniões, transcrever gravações e organizar, produzindo resumos eficientes. Tem tanta coisa que o Samsung Galaxy AI pode fazer por você. Clique aí no banner para descobrir o que. Galaxy AI, a inteligência artificial nas suas mãos.
Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425 should you want to be on the program. But y'all got to wait because I ran long, so just be patient with me. I'll get to you on the other side of the break. I got to play for you this clip. How's it going for the Democrats today? Alyssa Farah Griffin was on The View with the gang, and she and Sonny Houston had this exchange, which it made me laugh and also kind of blew my mind.
Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border crisis is on their doorstep.
So
and they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
The lessons are not
Misogyny. It's just that woman is what a horrible human being. She and Joy Reid are friends. It doesn't surprise me that she and Reid were the two people echoing that Kamala Harris ran a flawless campaign. Listen to Joy Reid having a normal one on MSNBC.
Deportations happen. Y'all voted with Stephen Miller and David Duke and against your own sisters and chose Kamala Harris with 60% of their votes. So you own everything that happens to your mixed status families and to your wives, sisters, and abuelas from here on in. However, we only have so much time for blame. We now need to make a plan.
So I hate you. You're horrible human beings. And we now need to make a plan. We don't have time for blame anymore. Holy cow. Also, how racist. How racist. What a horrible human being that woman is. And Sonny as well. It's misogyny. It's sexism. They don't want to learn. Their brains are closed. It's called epistemic closure. They're convinced they are right, and they need no new data. They will consume no new data, and anything that challenges their data is clearly misinformation and disinformation. They don't want to progress. The progressives have become regressive troglodytes. These two women and Jen Rubin just trolls. Vision Computer, let me tell you about them. They would love to build you a computer. You can call them at 404 Compute anywhere nationwide. They can build you a computer. It's going to be better than the one you get at the one-size-fits-all big box store. They're going to save you money, and then you're going to get their tech support for free. So if you ever have a question, not that it doesn't work, but you got a question, your email seems off, you're having printer support issues, whatever, you get the special phone number. You call them in 15 seconds or less, you get the answer to the question. Faster than you can Google, you get the answer to your question. If you need that, you're like, gosh, I don't need a computer, but I could use that. I'm a freelancer and I'm stuck at the coffee shop. Something happens on my computer. I can't afford an IT department. Well, you call them at 404 Compute. And for $179 a year per computer, they can be your IT support. If you're a small business in Sacramento, California, you can't afford the labor laws and costs in California for an IT guy, call Vision 404 Compute. They'll help you. 404 Compute. Tell them I sent you. Save even more money. 404 Compute.
Tem momento na carreira que precisamos dar passo além. É hora de fazer uma pós-graduação. Só que muitas vezes o custo pesa no bolso, inviabilizando tudo. Com a pós-graduação do Senac, você não tem esse problema. Cursos com até 50% de desconto e muito mais tempo para pagar. TCC opcional, modelo flexível com aulas presenciais e online e alguns cursos com apenas 12 meses de duração. Não tem mais desculpa, hein? Saiba mais em sp.senac.br/pós-graduação.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. Delighted to have you with me. The phone number, if you want to be on the program, is 877-973-7425. It is an open line Friday, and our Friend Chad in Montgomery, Alabama. I see you're calling. Chad, how are you?
Eric, I'm doing well. Hey, I think we can wait on the UN and the World Court to condemn what happened in Amsterdam, can't we? I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
coming,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And I'll take my septic tanks from Montgomery to Columbus, right?
Yes.
So just kind of want to switch for a second and talk about, obviously, I'm having a great time like everybody else is watching the complete meltdown from all of the media and all the politicos and so forth. But there is something that is, to me, more profound than Trump winning the race. And that is, we are now witnessing probably a paradigm shift in the destruction of the mainstream media and their, chokehold that they've had over elections and debates and so forth, because clearly the Republicans have learned to bypass the mainstream media through podcasts and talk radio and social media. And even Van Jones was talking about the other day. He said, look, they killed us. We were asleep, and we woke up in body bags. He made that comment. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
He suddenly realized, oh, my gosh, someone moved my cheese, And
Yeah.
I would like to get your comment on that. I think that's going to have a much more long-term impact on politics than just even any one president winning.
Yeah, so there is a lot of conversation in the media about how no one listens to them anymore. And that they're kind of irrelevant to the conversation. In fact, I was going to do this later in this segment, and I got some audio from MSNBC today where they're like, "We need our own Joe Rogan." I'm just y'all. That's not how it works. Joe Rogan is actually on the left. He's not on the right. He was a Bernie Sanders guy, but you guys called him a bigot because he doesn't support transgenderism.
Remember Air America? Remember
Yes.
Air America when they tried to combat Rush Limbaugh by coming up with their own left-wing talk show hosts who are going to be fantastic, and they fell on their face because it's content that matters.
Yes. It is. In fact, there's a guy on MSNBC, and I'll play this in a minute. I got some breaking news I got to deal with, Chad. There actually is a big story that just hit while you and I are talking. But yeah, he wants someone on the radio to indoctrinate men into feminism. Y'all, there's some breaking news. I got to get to this. This is actually a really big story. The Department of Justice has just unsealed criminal charges of a thwarted plot by the government of Iran to kill President-elect Donald Trump before the presidential election. The criminal complaint filed in federal court in Manhattan alleges an unnamed official in Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard instructed a contact this past September to put together a plan to surveil and ultimately kill President-elect Donald Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, this is breaking news. It is happening right now. The Department of Justice unsealing this plot to kill Donald Trump, authorized not as an individual, not as someone with ties to, but an actual governmental plot by the nation of Iran to assassinate Donald Trump. This now is the details from the Associated Press. The man involved is identified as Farjad Shakiri. If the man was unable to create a plan by the time they wished to kill Donald Trump before the election, the official told him Iran would pause its plan until after the presidential election because the official believed Trump would lose and it would be easier to assassinate him then. Shakiri told the FBI he didn't plan to propose a plan to murder Trump within the 7 days the officials had requested. The plot, with the charges unsealed days after Trump's defeat of Kamala Harris, reflects what federal officials have described as ongoing efforts by Iran to target U.S. government officials, including the president-elect of the United States, on American soil. Why has the Biden administration not bombed Iran? Why has the Biden administration told Israel to restrain itself in Iran? Was Joe Biden and the Democrats somehow hoping Iran might get lucky? I hate to ask that question, but we've seen months now of assassination rhetoric on just MSNBC. We've seen the entirety of the Democratic Party say Donald Trump was a threat to democracy and we got to do something to stop him. Iran seemed to have bought into their rhetoric and wanted to stop him. This is insane. Were they setting up Donald Trump? I don't like to think about that, and it sounds definitely conspiratorial. And obviously, the FBI was doing its job foiling this plot. But why the hell was the Biden administration not cracking down on Iran? Why was the Biden administration freezing out Israel's response? Why has the Biden administration been largely turning a blind eye to Iran and making kissy face with them behind the scenes through diplomatic channels? And why did someone who is a known Iranian sympathizer get promoted within the Pentagon all the way to the office of the Secretary of Defense? The Biden administration has been completely penetrated by Iranian sympathizers who are known, who have had exchanges, ties, and collaboration with people close to Iran, and they've been promoting them through the ranks of the Biden administration. What the hell's been happening there? If you're just tuning in, let me reset this for you. This is that important. The updated wire now from the Associated Press. I'm going to read it in full. From Eric Tucker, the national security reporter of the Associated Press, hot off the wire. The Justice Department unsealed criminal charges Friday in a thwarted Iranian plot to kill President-elect Donald Trump before this week's presidential election. A criminal complaint filed in federal court in Manhattan alleges that an unnamed official in Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard instructed a contact this past September to put together a plan to surveil and kill Donald Trump. If the man, identified as Farjad Sakiri, was unable to create a plan by then, the complaint said, the official told him Iran would pause its plan until after the presidential election because the official believed Trump would lose and it would be easier to assassinate him then, the complaint said. Shakiri told the FBI he didn't plan to propose a plan to murder Trump within the 7 days the official had requested, according to the complaint. The plot, with the charges unsealed just days after Trump's defeat of Democrat Kamala Harris, reflects what federal officials have described as ongoing efforts by Iran to target U.S. government officials, including Trump, on U.S. soil. Why has the Biden administration not responded if these are ongoing efforts, according to U.S. officials? And Joe Biden has done nothing? Well, he can't. Joe Biden is drooling asleep on the beach in Delaware. Lloyd Gates is God knows where. Anthony Blinken's out playing his guitar, and Kamala Harris has been on the campaign trail. Who exactly is in charge of the U.S. government at this point? Does anybody really know? This is just a wildly insane story. And now, of course, Donald Trump has gotten elected. And he's headed into the greater protective bubble. You know, this came up as a question last night in Tulsa. What happens if he is, God forbid, killed? J.D. Vance becomes president of the United States. But what I tried to explain to the audience last night in Tulsa when this question came up is that there is a real difference in the security bubble between the candidates for president and the presidents. Donald Trump was a candidate for president. He was not a president. We do not treat former presidents at the same level as presidents. Now that he's president-elect, we put him in the exact same security bubble. And he is the president-elect. And Iran has come for him. What's the old saying? If you want to kill the king, kill the king. They did not. And he's about to have the full power of the United States military at his disposal. I'm sorry, those of you on the phones, there's other breaking news I have to get to. This is happening right now as well. My goodness, what a Friday. Special Counsel Jack Smith is seeking to pause all prosecutions of Donald Trump. This is happening right now. Jack Smith, the special counsel, intends to file pleadings in federal court to shut down the cases against Donald Trump. This right now is Jack Smith in filing in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. I have just obtained his filing. As a result of the election, this is the government's unopposed motion to vacate briefing schedule. As a result of the election held on November 5, 2024, the defendant is expected to be certified as president-elect on January 6, 2025, and inaugurated on January 20th, 2025. The government respectfully requests that the court vacate the remaining deadlines in the pretrial schedule to afford the government time to assess this unprecedented circumstance and determine the appropriate course going forward consistent with Department of Justice policy. By December 2nd, 2024, the government will file a status report or otherwise inform the court of the result of its deliberations. The government has consulted with defense counsel who do not object to this request. This has just been filed in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. The case against Donald Trump by the United States government brought by Jack Smith has been paused and will not be resumed. It is the government of the United States' policy that presidents-elect and presidents of the United States cannot be prosecuted by the government of the United States. Though Donald Trump does not officially become president-elect until January 6th with the certification of the Electoral College votes, Donald Trump, by the way, has not even been voted on as president of the United States yet. I know some of you don't realize that. You have cast your votes for the electors of the Electoral College. They will vote for president of the United States in the middle of December. Their vote will be certified by the Congress on January 6th, 2025, and he will officially then become the president-elect. That's how it works. We call him that now because the result is predetermined based on the voters, but he's not yet president-elect. He's going to become president-elect. And before he becomes president-elect, Jack Smith, the special prosecutor hired by the Biden administration to prosecute Donald Trump, is asking the courts to suspend the case. It will ultimately be dismissed by the Department of Justice before Donald Trump becomes president because, again, it is the policy of the United States government that neither presidents nor presidents-elect can be prosecuted by the United States government. Two breaking news events happening right now. To summarize, the government of Iran, not individuals, but the actual government of Iran has been exposed now of plotting the assassination of Donald Trump on American soil. It has been thwarted by the United States government, and Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, has asked the courts in the District of Columbia, and it will be the court in Florida as well, or the appellate court at the 11th Circuit, to pause the prosecutions of Donald Trump pending dismissal according to government policy. To those of you who thought you would see Donald Trump in jail, too bad. Between bank collapse, the interest rates going where they are, mortgage rates being dubious, Swiss America has been the trusted leader in precious metals for 40 years, and they've been warning people about a secret war on cash. If you're interested in safeguarding your hard-earned cash from the secret war on cash, you need the free report from Swiss America. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Swiss America can educate you on protecting your assets. All you have to do is get their free report. It is free. It takes less than 15 minutes to read. It can save you on your retirement and finances. All you have to do to get this free copy is text my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash, digital currencies included, it's growing. So just get the free report, The Secret War on Cash. It's completely free. Just mention my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, when you call or text 800-289-2646. It's a completely free report. Just text my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you are buying a building, if you need a heavy equipment loan, things like that for your business, you're looking at buying a franchise, reach out to First Liberty Building and Loan. They make their own lending decisions, and they have since the 90s. FirstLibertyGA.com, FirstLibertyGA.com. That is, tell the Frost family I sent you. They're great people. They've been doing this since the 90s. FirstLibertyGA.com. There is breaking news I got to bring to everybody if you're just tuning in. The United States government has unsealed an indictment in Manhattan. They are indicting an individual for collaborating directly with the nation of Iran to assassinate Donald Trump before the election. According to the indictment, the government of Iran wanted a plan in place by September to assassinate Donald Trump before the election. And if they couldn't put one in place quickly, they would pause the plot to assassinate Donald Trump until after the election, believing that he was going to lose the election. This has come from the United States government. Concurrently, while all of this is going on in Manhattan in a district court in the District of Columbia, Special Prosecutor Jack Smith is asking the court there to dismiss the United States versus Trump, technically asking for a pause in the case so that he can assess proper policy according to the precedents and rules of the Department of Justice. I happen to know what the precedent and rules of the Department of Justice are. The Department of Justice's standing policy and the policy of the United States government is that presidents-elect and presidents of the United States cannot be prosecuted by the federal government unless impeached and removed from office. They can be prosecuted after leaving office. The practical effect of Jack Smith's case to pause hearings while he makes a determination is to run out the clock, and the case will be dismissed either by him before Donald Trump is president or afterwards. I will tell you, it has now been reported in multiple outlets that the Biden administration is actively pursuing dismissal of the cases against Donald Trump prior to him coming into office. I continue to believe that it would do the country a good for the Biden administration to end these prosecutions and Judge Merchan in New York to throw out the case against Donald Trump, and for Donald Trump to then come into office and pardon Hunter Biden. Everybody move on. Now, I know there are conservatives out there, like I put it on Twitter, like, no, two justices, we can't do that. We got to prosecute Hunter Biden. And I realize I'm not going to convince you guys, but I'm just going to tell you it is good for the psychological healing of this country to get all this over with and move beyond it and move past it and let it go. Show grace where they have shown none, and it will pour heaping coals on the heads of your enemies to be kind and show them grace. That's not why to do it, though. It's the right thing. And I know some of y'all are going to disagree with me, but it's true. Get rid of the Hunter Biden case. Get rid of the Donald Trump case. And bygones. Move on. Move on. Now, we got to move on. Listen, my apologies to those of you holding. It's obviously suddenly a breaking news moment between the Iranian assassination plot and the Jack Smith stuff. I'll try to get to your phone calls when we come back. First, though, I have to give you the state of play. Susie Wiles will become the first chief of staff, female chief of staff to a president of the United States. All the Democrats saying Donald Trump can't handle strong women. Of course, they're not going to correct themselves, nor will they root for Susie Wiles. Being a woman in that position, they find her to be some sort of gender traitor or some nonsense. It is a good sign for the future of the Trump administration that Susie Wiles will be in charge. I want to explain why. It's really important you understand one thing you might have missed about the incoming Trump administration.